Alright there folks, back again for another video. In this one, one of the big parts of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is coming up very, very soon, preview should be out next week, is Path to Glory. Path to Glory is the very narratively focused version of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. You might be familiar with a variant of it, a Crusade mode, effectively, from Warhammer 40,000. Path to Glory has been around for a very long time anyway, though. It's popped up all over the place in various editions, and it's effectively a good way for you to dive in and start out with a small force of maybe a couple of hundred points each, 500-600 or whatever, led by a named character or a character of your own creation, and then you take them into your campaigns and sort of guide them through their journey, accruing experience and changing your units so that they become more powerful and have their own quirks and scars and all sorts of different things, and your leaders go in the same direction as well. The nice thing about Warhammer Age of Sigmar 4th edition is that Path to Glory is going to be coming back, and there was an article all about it last week, or at least a couple of weeks ago now, for you to dive into and have some fun with and learn a little bit more about Path to Glory and what they have planned for it. First off, before we dive into the actual sort of new take on Path to Glory, for anyone who's not familiar, Path to Glory originally came out in White Dwarf many moons ago. It was effectively a way for you to dive in and build up Chaos Warbands in your games of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Me and my friends played this to death. We each chose a Chaos God, and we dived in and effectively just went through and built up our fun warbands and fought and all that kind of good stuff. This was back as well when we couldn't necessarily afford massive armies, and so what we'd do is we'd kind of kit bash together a whole bunch of different things. I think at one point, my Khorne warband, my Warlord was effectively useless, but the rest of the characters in that warband were really awesome, and I had some spawns and all sorts of different things. They weren't even models. They were just pieces of cardboard cut to the right size so they could move them around, because I couldn't afford to buy a spawn back then. But yeah, it was a really fun miniatures game. And it was one of those games that I think evolved into what the original Warcry was, where it was Chaos Warbands vying for power. That was very much what they had here with Path to Glory. But it was a really nice way for you to build up fun and interesting warbands with a handful of models per side, and you'd dive in and you'd build up fun and interesting scenarios as well, and storylines and rivalries. I know there was always a big rivalry between my Khorne Warlord and my friend's Zench one, or Zinch, however you want to say it. My brother also played a Beastman warband, which was really cool, because they added that later on down the table as well, which I thought was really nice, allowing you to play with all the sorts of different Chaos miniatures that were out there. The other thing was, this was that kind of time period where Chaos Warriors had like a really nice resurgence, and we got a whole host of fun new kits, both metal and plastic, for you to play around with, allowing you to really have some fun with Chaos and sort of taking them in different directions. And it was really encouraging you to kit bash and build up different things in different ways and tell stories, which was nice. It was a great series. There was a couple of sort of additional articles that popped up in the likes of White Dwarf and stuff after the fact. But it was a really nice way for you to kind of explore the range, build up fun and interesting miniatures, and sort of take your miniatures in a different direction. And maybe then develop that into a full Hordes of Chaos army or a Beasts of Chaos army later on down the road. But yes, it was great fun, and this was back when they sold bits individually. Oh my days, how strange is that? But yeah, really good fun. Definitely worth checking out if you can find this online. It's not hard to find, but if you are somebody who wants to dive back into a little bit of old hammer with a handful of miniatures per side, this is definitely something for you to have a pop at, as you can see there. Going back to Path to Glory as it stands now, the redevelopment of it effectively took it from warband size to much larger, well, took it from a handful of miniatures, maybe a dozen per side at its max, to effectively building small armies. I wasn't one of those people who thought that Path to Glory originally was a very viable mode for somebody starting out. It kind of had lost some of that character building element and the narrative of it. And I think that as it's gone through, I think they've really refined that. And it seems to be the case that they're doing something similar when it comes to Path to Glory when we dive into it in 4th edition. I remember a lot of people saying that the 3rd edition version of it is really, really well worth diving into and having fun with. And so hopefully this will be the same thing, really, as we dive into this one. So, Path to Glory, that's the kind of look of sort of like a standard warband for you to get started with, which is really cool. You'll be taking control of it with your Warlord, who will be on the... this is called Path to Glory Ascension. Ooh, a new battle pack. Very cool. And this will allow you to string together a series of heroic battles, allowing you to play out a narrative and building up your characters as you go through, giving them additional bonuses and all that kind of thing. One of the key factors of Path to Glory is that your units and your heroes and your monsters and everything else will gain experience as they fight. That could be done through defeating opponents, surviving a battle, taking objectives. I suppose it will depend on the scenario that you're actually diving into and what you're doing at the time. But it'll be really fun to see where they go with that and sort of how you can gain experience. But as you go through, you'll then sort of level up, and that will unlock paths for you to go down. So there are paths that are hero specific and also paths that are designed for units as well. So as you can see, we've got Path of the Warrior here, which is one for heroes. So in this one, when they reach the aspiring rank, you choose one of the following abilities. So you either have something like Berserker, where you can re-roll your charge rolls for this hero, or you've got Well of Strength, which is heal D6 this hero, which is a pretty awesome one, and it gives you the way that they work in battle there as well. And as you can see, additional abilities are unlocked when they get to elite level, mighty, and then legendary at the very, very end. So depending on where you want to take your particular character, when you dive into playing Path to Glory, there are some fun and interesting ways for you to do that and tell interesting stories. So if you're somebody who wants to create a big, burly murder machine that is always going to get into combat, maybe something for the Fire Slayers, for example, then maybe that Berserker trait is the first one you want to pick, alongside something like martial expertise, so they can re-roll their combat dice. It's nice that you've got kind of sort of offensive hero powers, and then powers that are more tied to kind of being sort of like it's like a commander almost, which I think is quite nice. But obviously this is the Path of the Warrior, so it's all very much about killing things. You've also got the Path of Defender, so this is for units that aren't heroes. Let's just have a look at the first ones here. So when you're aspiring, so you get that first rank, which would be once you've reached 5 experience points. Hopefully that'll be after maybe, what does it say? Oh no, yeah. So once you get to like 5 experience, so maybe after 1 or 2 games, you get aspiring, obviously you can see there. So one of the abilities is Hardened Resolve, so heal 1 this unit. Very good at the end of every turn. That's pretty awesome. And then you've also got Steel Discipline. When this unit uses retreat ability, no mortal damage is inflicted on it. So if you're really trying to do like a good hit and run force, that is a very, very good option for you to choose from. Obviously, this means that a Path to Glory army is very different from a match play one. And so when you're diving into play games against other people, or an open play one, I suppose, as well, you'll obviously be playing Path to Glory games against other Path to Glory players, or you'll just have to agree and all that kind of stuff as you go through and sort of play out your games, which I think is kind of cool. So yeah, an interesting sort of way for you to build up your interesting unit abilities, as well as the way that heroes work as well. So yeah, as it says, there are 6 paths in total, 4 for heroes and 2 for every other unit. So I would say that we're going to see, oh, that's interesting, 4 for heroes. So you'll probably have something like Path of the Warrior, Path of like the Overlord or the Warlord, Path of the Arcanist, something like that, maybe the Mage, sort of taking you down different routes. I think it'd be quite cool to see. You also have, as you can see here, additional abilities that will pop up during the course of your games. So, so every time a unit gains a rank, you can pick one ability of your choice. Priests on the Path of the Devout, so there's one of them there, can become so favoured by the gods that they unlock the powerful Resurrection ability, a whole new level of divine protection. So it has a ritual casting level of 7, so you have to build up those points and your chanting roll to get that, so you're not going to be able to do it in one go. Pick a friendly infantry hero that's been slain and return to the battlefield. Set up that hero wholly within the reach of the priest. That's pretty cool. Again, something that would be very unbalanced if you were diving into match play, but designed for Path to Glory. That's very nice to see. The other thing that I thought was really good is that one of the new big changes is that the Warlord can now participate wholly within the Path to Glory system. Not only can your army general advance along a path just like any other hero, they will begin the campaign with the first rank already gained, so that gives them a sort of like a bonus at the very beginning, which I think is really nice. And it'll really allow you to kind of start tailoring your heroes in different directions. And it means that you're not starting a campaign of Path to Glory with this feeling that like a general, well, everything is basically just a match play army, and then after like 1 or 2 games, suddenly they become a Path to Glory army. So that'll be very interesting to see how that all comes together, and what people choose to do with this and where they take it. One of the things that'd be really nice to see is them exploring the kind of campaign-based element of things. So maybe you'll still be able to control territory and stuff like that. I hadn't necessarily seen anything about that currently in the sort of preview, but hopefully that's something that they still include, because I thought that was a really nice inclusion in the way that Path to Glory had worked previously. One of the things they did say is they've obviously got the new twists and turns, so instead of using the battle tactics that you're normally familiar with, there's an entirely different sort of module that you'll be using into, which is quite cool. So the driving force behind this dynamic is the inclusion of a twist table on every battle plan, introducing dramatic and unpredictable shifts each battle round that leverage the underdog mechanic. Very cool. So one of them is the ritual, as you can see here. So it has a couple of different twists. So D3 twist: at all costs, the underdog, so the person who's lowest on victory points, can pick a friendly unit, add 3 to that unit's control store until the end of the next battle round. Very cool. The earth trembles, the underdog can pick an enemy unit. That unit has strike last this battle round. An eruption of power, the underdog can pick 1 objective and roll a dice for each unit contesting that objective. On a 4+, inflicted D3 mortal damage on that unit. So a really nice balancing mechanic there, which I think is quite cool to see. And it's another way that they've kind of looked to balance Path to Glory, and that means that even if you're going against somebody who's maybe at like elite or mighty status and you're still aspiring, there's a chance for you to potentially win your games and take it in different ways. I have always heard people say that the Path to Glory system feels much more robust and much more refined than Crusade, even in Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. Me and my friends wanted to do Crusade, but we've never really got around to doing it. I think the new edition is going to be an absolutely perfect chance for us to dive in and do Path to Glory and sort of take things in different ways and tell a slightly more narrative tale, especially because it feels like Warhammer Age of Sigmar is more focused in that narrative direction. It's not just about winning and accruing as many VP as possible. It always feels like there's a little bit more narrative to it. Maybe it's just because it's a fantasy game and it's a bit more swords and sorcery, but yeah, I'm sure people will have thoughts of that in the comments down below. The last thing we wanted to point out as well was there was the stuff about the new Anvil of Apotheosis. So going to be more details about this in the future, but path system by including unique paths tailored to your faction. Very nice to see. And each one will also include its very own Anvil of Apotheosis, a system for creating your own custom character to use in Path to Glory games. I am so excited to see how that all comes together. I love the idea of hopefully tables, name generation, faction-specific abilities and stuff, as you can see there, which is really cool, and ways that's then taken in different ways as the new battle tomes come out for various factions. I think it'll be very nice to see. All sounding very cool indeed. Path to Glory has clearly changed a lot since the early days and that first iteration, which was this one here, as you can see, and it's definitely sort of grown in scale in terms of what they're trying to look for you to achieve. It's more about the growing armies rather than single warbands. That's what Warcry is for, of course. But I am very encouraged by the talk around Path to Glory. As someone who loves narrative and storytelling in their games, this just seems like it's top of the pile for me when it comes to diving in and having some fun. And if that's all you need, more or less, to get started, I think that's a great opportunity for people to dive in, use their Spearhead sets, and use that as a basis for their campaigns going forward. Maybe get your sort of Spearhead set and then find a character that you really like the look of, or wait to see what comes up in that Anvil of Apotheosis so you can build your characters, and then choose another plastic set that you really like and use that as the basis for your Path to Glory campaign going on. It's also a great opportunity for people who already have large collections of miniatures to dive back into that and use it as a way to build up fun and interesting narratives and go on different campaigns. So if you're somebody who already has lots of Stormcast Eternals or Age of Sigmar, for example, and there are units that you don't necessarily use that much because they're not very good in match play, maybe the benefits of narrative and the storytelling that comes from doing Path to Glory is a good way for you to use those existing miniatures and maybe see whether or not they're worth breaking out of the vaults and using on the tabletop. But yes, Path to Glory, all sounding very cool indeed. Not too much detail in here, but enough to get sort of to wet your whistle, as it were, from Games Workshop. Hopefully we'll learn a little bit more as we move towards the preview later on next week. And yeah, let me know down below. Are you someone who's played Path to Glory in 3rd? Did you really like it? Have you played Crusade mode from Warhammer 40,000? Is that a mode that you really enjoy playing? Should I be trying that out with my Eldar, for example? My Iandan forces? I'm going to dive on and get ready to film another video ahead of the exciting week of Warhammer Age of Sigmar goodness that is coming up. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and let's get into a dialogue about Path to Glory and what you think about narrative play in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Yes, let me know, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now.